All right, Danielle, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Christina. Thanks for joining us on today's webinar, and thank you for your patience as we got going there. Today, we are talking about farm to summer, and specifically going through some strategies that state agencies can use when they are supporting their summer meal programs through local foods and enriching activities. I'm Danielle Fleury. I'm the Farm to School Regional Lead in USDA Food Nutrition Services Northeast Regional Office. I'm based in Boston, and I work with the 7 states here in the Northeast. And I'm joined today by Erin Kennedy Heisum. Erin is the Coordinator of Select Education Initiatives and Effectiveness in the Maryland State Department of Education. And I'm also joined by Emily Feldhausen, and Emily is the Farm Fresh Specialist in the Texas Department of Agriculture Food and Nutrition Division. So we're so pleased to be joined by 2 representatives of state agencies who have already had success in the farm to summer realm, and look forward to hearing what you both have to share with us. I'm going to talk, before we get started and jump into the content, just a little bit about our housekeeping today. If you'd like to make a comment at any time or ask a question about anything that you've heard, please feel free to use the chat function. It's in the lower left-hand section of your computer screen, and you should be able to just type in your question there. Also, this webinar is being recorded today, so if you had colleagues who couldn't join, feel free to pass this recording along to them. We're going to be making the recording available through PartnerWeb, and then we're going to post it on our Office of Community Food Systems website, and a PDF of the slides that we will show you today should be available for download at the end of the webinar. And then at the very end of the webinar, you'll be prompted with an evaluation, so please let us know what you think and complete the evaluation. All right, so just to jump in, farm to summer. So what do we mean when we say farm to summer? In our eyes, really, it's a natural extension of the farm to school model. So that consists of both local food and, most importantly, that food and nutrition related education that goes hand in hand with local food that's being served. So getting local food into kids' hands through the reimbursable meal program in either the summer food service program or seamless summer option. It is a great way to increase the quality and appeal of the meals that are being provided, either on the plate or also through things like taste tests, which can introduce children to new items. And one thing to note about serving local food in the summertime, it aligns really well in many regions across the U.S. with the growing season, finally, that many of us are so patient for. And so it can actually make local foods more accessible, potentially more affordable and available in the summer months. So please keep that in mind. And we mentioned the activities. So summer programming is all about that activity that's offered that goes hand in hand with the meal that can really engage kids and attract them to your programming. So looking at it through a farm to summer lens might mean school gardening. This is a great example of a program that aligns their summer meals with free gardening lessons. It can mean promotional opportunities, so celebrating local foods through marketing, promotion, and special events that encourage kids to know about what they're eating, where it came from, and why it's important to develop healthy habits. And this is a Harvest of the Month program, so it can be continuing special events and identifying local foods through these types of promotions. This example is from Massachusetts, and they've recently included 2 more months to their Harvest of the Month program. So cucumbers in July, peaches in August, and making these materials available not just to school districts during the school year, but also to nonprofit sponsors of the program in the summer months. It can mean involving parents. This is a program that provides information about how to access local foods in the community for the whole family that comes out to an open summer meal site. It can also mean including recipes for healthy meals and encouraging parents to bring those healthy habits home with their kids. Another thing that we talk about under the Farm to Summer umbrella is site location. So it can involve selecting sites around access points for local food in your community, and that might mean opening up a summer meal site at a farmer's market. That can create a really mutually beneficial relationship, allowing sponsors to take advantage of sources of local food and those free activities that might be offered at a farmer's market, and then having the added benefit of increasing foot traffic to the farmer's market. So we'll hear a little bit more in detail about many of those things from our co-presenters. But I just wanted you to all be thinking about what your role is as a state agency administrator of the summer meal programs. And of course, you all play such a critical role in supporting this program. And so looking at your program through a farm to summer lens might mean adding some of this information that we'll talk about today in your annual sponsor trainings when you have that face-to-face time with your sponsors. It might mean highlighting model programs, so when you're out in the field doing your reviews or as you are in conversations with sponsors and you hear of local food or related activities really working and engaging kids and potentially increasing participation, you can really shout that from the rooftops. Put it in your newsletter, put it in your email communications, or talk about it when you're on your on-site reviews. And on that note, you might think about a program that would give special recognition to sponsors or sites that are really championing these efforts. We've seen things like Summer Sunshine Awards that work, and there could be a potential special category for use of local foods to give sponsors who are doing this work that extra bit of recognition and encouragement. State agencies play a critical role in acting as a resource clearinghouse. So your agency website is a wonderful place to highlight farm to summer materials, and we'll talk at the end of today's webinar about what a few of those things are that hopefully we can provide you. And then it might mean bringing in new partners. If you think about who's active in your farm to school work in your state, you might pick up the phone and see if they are interested in supporting summer meal programs in your state, and potentially some of them already are. And there are many. We have a few listed here, but you might think about reaching out to the National Farm to School Network, where there are 50 state leads. Their information is located on their website. You might think about Food Corps or AmeriCorps Vistas and utilizing service members to actually help you or help sponsors procure local foods and add that activity at the site. You might think about aligning with SNAP Ed. They might have some nutrition education and engagement with the community that would align really nicely here. And you might look to local food and gardening organizations that could offer support to your programming. And just a tip that we saw come in this year, which was great, a lot of state agencies who are thinking about farm to summer took the opportunity to outline their plan in their MAP, in their management and administrative plan that is due to Food and Nutrition Service every year. So the regional offices had the opportunity to look back and see some of those maps, and so thank you for everyone who did that. And potentially for next year, if you're thinking about doing that, you might want to reach out to your regional office and think through how that might be done. So I'm going to kick it over to our first speaker, Erin Kennedy-Heisam in the Maryland State Department of Education, to give us an overview of how Farm to Summer has been supported in Maryland. Thanks, Erin.
Great. Thanks, Danielle and Christina and Emily for welcoming us on this webinar. In Maryland, we're always excited to share what we're doing as well as hear from the other states around the country and what they're doing with Farm to Summer. So really, if we want to talk about Farm to Summer in Maryland, we have to start with talking about Farm to School. And Farm to School began in Maryland through legislation, the Jane Law and Farm to School Act of 2008. And what this legislation did was really create the program between the Maryland Department of Agriculture and the Maryland Department of Education. And the purpose of the bill and the purpose of the program is to really promote Maryland-grown agriculture to students and to teach children about where their food is coming from and all the great things that go along with health, nutrition, and agricultural education. So from that act, we started Maryland Homegrown School Lunch Week, which is a week-long farm-to-school celebration in the fall. And that was the impetus to get our school districts involved in purchasing local food and conducting experiential learning and ag education. It has grown tremendously since then. So when we began, local products were being bought during that week, and now we're seeing districts purchase throughout the whole year. In fact, the most recent Farm to School census shows that our public school districts have increased the amount of dollars spent on local food by 94%. We're spending over $18 million on local food in the school year 2014. In 2014, we also began to incorporate Farm to Summer in our annual summer administrative trainings. So summer meals in Maryland, they might look a little different than some of the states you're from. We have 45 summer food service program sponsors, half of whom are our public school districts. In Maryland, we are county-based school systems. So each county is its own public school system. We have 24 public school systems across the state. They can be very large sponsors of the Summer Meals program. But we also have a variety of other sponsors, parks and recreation, nonprofit organizations. And I bring this up to kind of show the variety and the diversity of sponsors across Maryland. Some are single site sponsors, meaning they only have one summer site, and then some have upwards of 400 sites. Last summer in 2015, we served nearly 3 million summer meals, which was an 8.5% increase from the year before. So how do I see my role at the state agency fitting into Farm to Summer? This was a little tricky for me to wrap my head around at first. And these are just 4 big picture items that I found seems to work in the state agency role, but I'm always open to suggestions and learning how other agencies are operating Farm to Summer. The first, and I really cannot stress this enough, is procurement trainings. I was lucky enough to attend the USDA local procurement training a few years ago and was able to take that information, come back to Maryland, and share it with our schools and school districts. So for the last 2 years, I have been doing routine, regular, about 2 to 3 times a year, in-depth procurement trainings with our public school districts. The challenge with Farm to Summer is, as we saw on the last slide, the procurement for smaller agencies are going to be significantly different than our public schools. The summer agencies, we have some that do vended meals, some are self-op, some are purchasing under small purchase thresholds. So now as we're going into the 3rd year of Farm to Summer training, I, as a state agency representative, am looking into ways to target that training to the appropriate audience. So for some of the smaller summer agencies, for example, I will actually sit down with them and review their procurement contracts and insert and look at ways we can insert Farm to Summer and local targeting in their procurement contract. The next big thing is just constantly marketing and promotion. I believe that Farm to Summer, Farm to School, local food purchasing is a really positive message that we can spread to the public and educate the public about the quality of the meals in child nutrition programs. So we do things such as create posters or stickers or trading cards that the sponsors and the sites may use with the children when they are serving local items, as well as doing traditional and social media promotion. So we release press releases. We have a Twitter account, both ones for the Maryland Farm to School program run through the Department of Agriculture as well as through the Maryland State Department of Education. We can do things through Facebook and various social media. So the more I can promote and share the good word about what our agencies are doing, the better. Oftentimes our summer agencies, and even during the school year, they don't have time to necessarily brag about all the good things that they're doing. So I think that it's an important part of my job to make sure that everyone else is hearing that message. Facilitating relationships, I really can't stress this enough. As you saw previously through Danielle, we can't do this alone. Farm to Summer, Farm to School is more than just local food procurement. It's about that experiential learning. It's about the education. So bringing in the partners who can help make it a more robust and holistic program is necessary to have this Farm to Summer program grow. And then the 4th thing that I do for the agencies, if they are interested, is I help them kind of identify various funding sources. So I have reviewed grants that they have written and edited grants that they have written. We've looked for both funding through the USDA as well as through other government agencies. We've worked with rural development, as well as starting to identify some local businesses or community businesses that are interested in this mission and that might help support the summer agencies in increasing the amount of local food they're procuring, as well as doing the learning and experiential experiences. On the next slide, you'll just see a brief clip of a few of our partners across Maryland who help us promote farm to, we call farm to everything, so farm to school, farm to summer. They include obviously the Department of Agriculture, like I said, University of Maryland Extension through FESNY, some of our nonprofit partners like Maryland Hunger Solutions, the Maryland Farmers Market Association, and of course USDA's wonderful Farm to School team. So I wanted to go through a few examples of some agencies in Maryland that are incorporating farm to summer activities on a variety of different ways. And the first I want to talk about is the Maryland Food Bank. About 2 years ago in the Summer Food Service Program Annual Administrative Training, I said to the group, okay, how many people are doing farm to summer? And no one raised their hand. And I kind of was a little puzzled because I knew that some people, especially the schools that had been doing farm to school, were still continuing to procure locally throughout the year. And what I realized that it was just that term. Farm to summer was a term that we use, that we're very comfortable with. We hear it spoken a lot through USDA and through all the child nutrition programs. But it might not be a term that our agencies know. So I put this up as an example. Maryland Food Bank, they already have a commitment to local purchasing. They already have it in their mission that they're going to engage the Maryland farmers to procure fresh and local produce. And they do this through a variety of ways. They do this through gleanings and donations and contract growing. They do a variety of different ways to get that local product in there. So when I said who's done farm to summer and no one raised their hand, I had to start explaining it in different terms. So I just throw that out there as a constant reminder that we're not just using terminology that we know, but we're actually explaining what these terms mean, because you might come to find that you actually do have a lot more agencies doing this type of work. The next initiative that I wanted to share with everybody is working with the farmers markets. So this is a really great example of relationships and working with partners. Last summer, one of our close partners, Maryland Hunger Solutions, teamed up with the Maryland Farmers Market Association and one of our lead summer sponsors, the Family League of Baltimore City, and they wanted to pilot mobile meals at 2 farmers markets. So we got together and we discussed how this could work. We found 2 farmers markets in Baltimore City who were willing to do this. The Family League came on board and they planned their route, and they worked with the farmers market and they worked with the association and Maryland Hunger Solutions to plan the timing of the meals and ensure there was compliance, and how were they going to serve these meals at a farmers market without interfering with the market itself and without utilizing the market staff so it would become a burden on them. It was a great success. As you can see from the pictures, everyone's happy. We did have a spike event in August during the National Farmers Market Week, and that is Senator Sarbanes from Maryland speaking at the Govinstown Farmers Market. And it was such a success that we have now actively conducted outreach to get more farmers markets on board this year. So just last week, Maryland Hunger Solutions, the Farmers Market Association, and myself held a conference call with farmers markets who are interested. We explained about the program, what are some expectations, how we could identify if they were in eligible areas, and then the next step will be to link them with the summer food service sponsors who would be interested and able to service the markets. We also went to the Farmers Market Conference in Maryland, where the representative from Maryland Hunger Solutions went and spoke about this initiative. So it's just about constant communication, outreach, connections, and forming those relationships. And then my final example is from a school, from Baltimore City Public Schools. And back in around the early 2000s or 2010, Baltimore City Public Schools got a USDA Farm to School grant. So this is the backstory. The city schools actually have their own farm, and it's called Great Kids Farm. It started in the early 1900s as a foster home and school for boys in the city. And around 1950s, it was purchased by the school district as a nature center. In 2013, they received the USDA Farm to School grant, which gave them resources to increase the capacity of the farm, as well as do salad bars in the schools, edible school gardens, and field trips. So now they have field trips for city school students that come out to the farm and work on it. In 2015, so just last summer, and a few summers before that, they've been working with an organization called YouthWorks. And YouthWorks is an organization within Baltimore City that provides summer job opportunities for adolescents. And Great Kids Farm became a YouthWorks site. So they now hiring students in the city over the summer months to work on the farm and to learn about agriculture, growing, as well as school and summer meals. We also partnered with them last summer to do a Future Farmers of America Day of Service, and then they have coordinated elementary and middle school student field trips. This is all driven by Baltimore City Public Schools and Great Kids Farms and their supporting organizations. This is not something that I do at the state level. You can keep going through the slides a little, Danielle. And next. So Baltimore City Public Schools, they have 110 school-based summer sites. Last school year, they utilized Great Kids Farm produce in 50% of their schools. And they're always looking to increase the amount of Great Kids Farm produce that they serve in their schools and in their summer sites. They do this through targeting local in their RFP. And they've worked with their produce vendor that works them throughout the school year as well as the summer to coordinate pickup and delivery at Great Kids Farm and delivery to the school-based sites. They've also requested in their RFP that their produce supplier identifies the farm or state of origin on the products that are delivered. So it's a really great way for tracking data to identify how much local items you are purchasing in the summer as well as during the school year. And also it kind of shows your produce distributor that this is what you are committed to. It shows that you are interested in buying from your local communities, buying from your local state, and that you really want to track what you are purchasing and increase it as the years go on. So in that regard, that's where I say the local procurement training is so beneficial. So doing as state agency, doing procurement training, you're able to work with summer sponsors who have RFPs, who have produce vendors, and say, here's some really great examples of how you can encourage or prefer local through your bidding process. And that's it.
Great. Wow. Thank you so much, Erin. I love your farm to everything approach, and I especially love how you've digested all of that procurement guidance and really tailored it to sponsors' needs, and that's fantastic. And I think you show that example really well with Baltimore Public Schools. All right. Next up, we're going to hear from Emily in the Texas Department of Agriculture. We're going to hear about Texas's support of Farm to Summer. Emily?
Thank you, and thank you, Erin. So we'll move through this pretty quickly, so this slide transition should be interesting. But good afternoon. I'd like to quickly introduce myself. I'm Emily Feldhausen of the Texas Department of Agriculture, and I'm the Farm Fresh Specialist. My teammate and I work in tandem to expand the reach of the Farm Fresh initiative, and we've recently begun to integrate Farm to Summer into our programming. This afternoon I want to give you all an overview of the Farm to Summer initiative in Texas, and in particular one of the tools we've developed for our stakeholders. But before we get started, I just want to introduce just how large our summer meal program is in the state of Texas. So in Texas, as of 2014, our summer meal program was made up of 743 sponsors that coordinated over 5,000 sites. These sites served over 24 million meals to students across the state. Daily lunch participation in schools with over 100,000 and over 200,000 at other sites. They say that everything is bigger in Texas, and our meal program is no exception. So with that, let's talk about some of the tools TDA has developed to support our Farm to Summer program. So it's going to be pretty short and sweet. We've just recently begun our engagement with Farm to Summer, but things are ramping up quickly. And one of the coolest things we've created thus far is our Farm to Summer Toolkit, housed on our squaremeals.org page, which you can see the home screen of our toolkit. It's organized by subject matter ranging from introductory level information to success stories. And each block links to an aggregate of resources TDA feels is most relevant to summer sponsors, sites, community organizations, and other stakeholders, as well as provides a model of activities in Texas. So today I'm just going to highlight a few of these sections to give you a snapshot of our toolkit and tell you about some of our shining stars in Texas. So the first section is our How Producers Can Get Involved tab. So producers accessing this section will find tools such as our Summer Site Mapping tool, and this tool helps them identify summer meal sites in their area, as well as some sample ideas of additional ways Farm to Summer might apply to them. Lastly, we link to the main producer page that includes our decision tool. So Erin talked about procurement. This is how we help producers with procurement. And it's one of my favorite things. I won't get into it too much today, but essentially helps them determine what avenue for selling to schools or school food service or summer meals or childcare is best for them, whether it's direct to schools, to a contract distributor, to USDA Foods, or to DoD Fresh or Farm to School. Next slide is fine. So we have a lot of great agriculture partners at TDA in Texas, and we have had many schools take advantage of these partnerships to add value to their programs. Through a longtime partnership with TDA, Dallas ISD has become a statewide model for successful incorporation of local products in NSLP. And in the last few years, they've also begun incorporating local products in their summer meal programs. So the image on the previous slide are actually from a field trip that Dallas ISD took to a few local farms, and it was attended by school lunch staff at a management level and above. And on this field trip, attendants learned about the harvesting process of local peaches and fresh beans, as well as packaging and distribution. And this gave them some good context for what the producers were dealing with in their efforts to provide their local products to Texas children. So the food service team left this event with a strengthened appreciation of the importance of supporting local agriculture. And some of our meal participants benefited by receiving fresh peaches and black-eyed peas in their meals. So that image is actually what was later on served in the summer meal program. So the other section to note is our purchasing local food. Here, stakeholders will find access to the most pertinent information for local procurement. This ensures they're following best practices and staying abreast of USDA guidance, whether they're buying directly from a farmer, at a farmer's market, through a contracted distributor who already has relationships with local producers, or by using their entitlement funds. So on these pages, we also like to showcase success stories in our state so that others have positive examples and get inspired to achieve their own success. For example, on that page, we showcase Florence ISD for their creative and effective use of entitlement funds in their summer and NSLP programs. So these foods look pretty delicious. Florence ISD is a perfect example of the possibilities when you successfully forecast and plan for use of entitlement funds. The use of their entitlement funds allowed them to incorporate the proverbial cream of the crop in their summer meals. And as an added value, they figured out creative ways to lightly process the ingredients so they would be preserved for use in the upcoming school year. For instance, fresh strawberries in that middle picture and blueberries were served to summer meal participants, and the remainder of the fruits were whole and then flash frozen so they would be ready for fruit and yogurt parfaits in the upcoming school year. Fresh corn was also shucked and frozen so students got to enjoy delicious sweet corn during the summer and the school year. The nutrition director from Florence ISD said she definitely wants to do the strawberries again, but shucking hundreds of pounds of corn was a little bit more than they bit off a bit more than they could chew with that one. So determining what products are the best fit for that is definitely important. Two of our other key sections are the garden-based enrichment activities and nutrition and local food enrichment activities sections. These are some of the categories that first come to mind when you think about Farm to Summer, at least they are when we think about it in Texas. And as Erin also mentioned, summer meal programs offer an opportunity to really think outside the box for nutritional activities and garden-based enrichment programs, and many programs in Texas have done just that. Specifically, Plano ISD and Abilene ISD. So Plano ISD coordinates with the City of Plano's community garden to bring garden enrichment to their summer meal participants. So just because Plano ISD itself doesn't host a garden, they didn't let that limit their garden-based enrichment. They coordinated with somebody that already had one, so students got to benefit. And Abilene ISD used their Fuel Up and Move bus tour to teach students about nutrition and healthy eating habits. The students participated in hands-on activities, such as make your own smoothie stations with some local fruits, and a game show type competition with nutrition-centric topics. So they would have math questions about calculating calories or nutrients. It was a wide breadth of topics on this bus. And each week the bus moved to a different site, so the most students had the opportunity to connect. So that's a great way to spread out your mobile meal, just move it around. So Farm to School in Texas is relatively new, so we're really growing quite quickly, and we're just using a lot of what's happening and been successful in Farm to School and tailoring it just slightly so it's applicable to Farm to Summer. So 2016 we hope is going to be a pretty big year, and it's already turning out as such. For Farm to Summer, we have quite a bit moving and shaking in our pipeline to reach those summer meal participants because we do feel like it's such an applicable program. In the next few weeks, I think, we're launching our Farm to Summer baseline survey, and the results of this survey will really help us determine the best way to help our sponsors and sites achieve Farm to Summer success, and we'll look at responses at a regional level and just figure out how do we strategically support our partners. And this summer we're increasing our outreach. We're doing a big summer distribution of all of our media collateral so that sites are aware of the programs that we offer and can help support. We had a conference presence this year at our SFSP conference, and we had a great panel discussion. We had a lot of momentum leading off of that conference, some great partners that are already doing really cool things for Farm to Summer. And then we're distributing even more materials to summer program sponsors that we're pretty excited about. So, that's all that I've really prepared for you all today. Farm to Summer is pretty new at TDA, but we feel confident that it's just going to grow from here, and we're really excited to see how it grows across the rest of the U.S.
Great. Thanks, Emily. I love how Texas is a great example of acting as that statewide resource clearinghouse. I think your toolkit is a fantastic example of that, and I really encourage all the listeners today to log on and check it out. On that note, I'm going to go through a few resources for you just so that you're all aware of the resources that have been created on Farm to Summer that we hope will help you support your sponsors. So the best place to go for all the resources I'm going to mention is USDA's Farm to Summer website. And the link is here and a little screenshot so that you can see what it looks like when you log on. I'm just going to talk through a few things that you'll find there. You'll find our Farm to Summer fact sheet. I think this would be a great thing for you to bring to sponsor trainings and make available, maybe post it on your website for download. It's a two-page document that goes through what is Farm to Summer, why is it beneficial, and what does it encompass. We talk through that it's local foods and those food and nutrition related activities. We also have our summer policy memo. So this is a policy memo that talks through the use of local food. It talks through the fact that there are many, many sources for local food. There's not always one right answer. We talk through how sponsors can specify a preference for local in their solicitation, something that Erin talked about. We talk through the fact that funds, reimbursed funds through FNS can actually support gardens and grow food for use in the meals or the activities, so long as it relates back to the nutrition program. And it includes some suggestions for activities. So it talks through things we've discussed like gardening, taste tests, farm field trips, potentially producer visits. I know they're pretty popular at summer kickoffs, harvest of the month, and there's many more. And then it also includes a review of funding, resources, and support that might be helpful for you as a state agency. So we go through the fact that state agencies are an eligible applicant for the USDA Farm to School grant program. And it also mentions that you might use your SAE, your state administrative expense funds, or even your reallocation funds to support Farm to Summer trainings or staff at the state level. We also have a link to our local procurement guide. This is a guide that walks through those strategies for targeting local foods through the procurement process. Really handy for schools, for summer sponsors, and for CACFP sponsors. So here you can see the page that talks specifically about the Summer Food Service Program and Seamless Summer Option, but really there's a lot of material in this guide that will be helpful and would definitely contribute to local procurement training for your sponsors. We just updated our Summer Meal Toolkit. I hope you're familiar with using that. It's chock full of resources for just supporting the Summer Meal Program in general. But new is a Farm to Summer section within that toolkit. So I would encourage you to log on. We just posted it yesterday, and we have a page here that I'm showing that talks through everything that we covered today of how can a state agency promote local foods and those related activities in their state. And we also have a page that is directed toward the sponsor audience. So it would be really great to, again, just pull that page, make it available at trainings or through your regular communication with sponsors. I want to point out our e-letter. It's called The Dirt. It comes out every other Tuesday, and it's notes from our Office of Community Food Systems, which covers approaches to farm to school, summer, and preschool. And the reason I want to point it out is because every summer we run a spotlight on summer. We collect stories and anecdotes from all over the country. Right around the end of May, mid to end May, we put out, we launch the request for stories, and we'll just kind of say what we're looking for, and that will be the prompt for sponsors or partners, even kids or parents, state agencies as well. You can all submit your story. So something that you've seen in the field, something that's going on in your community that you think aligns really well with what we're talking about today. We would love to hear it. Attach a picture. We collect those stories, and then we write up the best ones and put them back out through our e-letter. So it's a great way to shine a national spotlight on these programs. I also wanted to mention the Farm to School Census. We are actually asking every other year, we're surveying every school district in the country, and there's a question about whether or not the food service director that's participating in Farm to School actually included local foods in their summer meal programs. So if you're a data-driven individual and you want to find out which school districts in your state said, yes, we are including local foods in our summer meal program, you can log on to the Farm to School Census and find that out. And you can also, back to the importance of adding those anecdotes and stories about all this work that's going on around the country, you can cast a vote for a school district in our One in a Melon contest. So I'd really encourage you to log on, check out the numbers for your state, look into what's going on in terms of local food in the summer meal program. And then if you have a great story across any of the child nutrition programs, you'll have the opportunity to write that up and submit it to USDA, and we'd love to hear from you. And lastly, we have staffing support on this front, which is really, really exciting for us. So we have one Farm to School regional lead for all 7 FNS regional offices, and we also now have Farm to Summer supports. So check out, become familiar with this face and name, and they are in their regional offices supporting Farm to Summer efforts in their states. If you have questions, you can reach out to these folks. And again, even if you don't have questions, if you have a great story to share, please feel free to reach out and let us know. And I think that does it for our content. We would love to take any questions that you have. I'm just going to look at the chat box and see what kind of questions came in.
Just a quick reminder, the only way to ask questions is through the chat box. So go ahead and type a question in there, and we'll get through them.
This is Erin. I actually have a question for Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes, Erin.
Are you able to share the survey that you are sending out to your summer agencies, the baseline survey that you talked about?
Sure. I can send you a PDF of that.
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Great. And Christina, can you read out some of the questions that are coming in?
Yeah, I don't actually see any questions yet.
Oh,
so, and one question is just about the dirt. Where can we subscribe for the newsletter?
Sure. Let me go back to that web link. It is on the USDA Farm to School website, and you can log on and sign up. I'm actually not going to get back there, but you can just log on to USDA's Farm to School website and sign on for the e-letter there. Any other questions or stories to share from the field, work that you've seen in your states? We'll just wait one more minute to see if anyone has any questions for the chat box. All right. Well, as I said, please feel free to reach out, get in touch with your FNS regional offices, with myself, with Emily or Erin, our 2 guest speakers today. I want to thank you both for sharing that snapshot of the state level work that's going on in Texas and Maryland. We really look forward to hearing from more of you this summer about what's working, and look forward to supporting summer meal sites. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.